Hey again guys, it's Khadroth. Today we're going to be going over the caster node for Christmas. This node has a lot of quick comps. Remember, the Lancelot and Dante's comps will be split out into their own video separately at the end, so don't worry about that. But yeah, we've got a lot to cover, so let's go ahead and get right in. And also guys, don't forget, I do stream Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern, FGO, so come check me out on Twitch under the same name. Okay guys, you guys know the deal by now, so we're going to be starting out here on the Drake comp. It's going to be our only buster comp for this node. I'm going to go ahead and advise you guys, there's two other really good people to use for this node because of damage bonus, so if this is your only comp, it's fine, but a couple of the things I want to point out here are, one, the Nito at NP3 still having a warning because we have the max remaining health on all three enemies. There's a couple of strategies we can use to get through this, particularly using Nito's first skill. Her death proc skill is going to save you here. Just be careful because you could get absolutely and utterly screwed. But with that in mind, you should be okay when it comes to turning. We think it's still within a reasonable range for that to happen. And how you kind of want to go about it, like we talked about, is you're going to want to use that death skill, but then try to target that middle dopester. These are all hoodlums. They should have a decent chance at getting deathed by Nito. The higher you raise Nito's first skill, the more chance you've got at death procking them. So while we do advise a 6 as sort of a baseline, you guys can maybe in some cases get away with less, but you can also use more and increase your odds of doing that. In this case, you basically only need to worry about being able to death one enemy. And so how I would tell you guys to do it is stagger your cards first and foremost after the NP. Make sure that you don't use two of the same person's cards, because if two enemies live, you're not going to be able to alternate and kill them. What I would tell you to do from there also is look for Drake cards. Look for that Rider's cards. It's really going to help you kill the dopesters, and make sure that you target the middle enemy, the one that has the most health here, because he is most likely to live, and a Nito NP cannot just outright kill him off of pure damage, at least at NP3. So all of them have a decent chance at living, but that middle one is going to be your problem child. So target that middle one, use your Drake card second in the chain. That should kill him. From there, then the third card, which will probably be a caster for you, is going to just mop up whichever of the remaining enemies lives if there was another enemy. So that's the easy way to make sure you have a good shot of clearing. Outside of this, pay attention, we are using NP3 Drake here and a normal Kscope. It's otherwise a very easy comp. The problem that you guys are going to see is you do require Waver and Merlin and a plug suit. We've got some decent health values remaining. The good news is Drake can generate stars with her charge, so you will have some help there in the final wave. Just be very, very, very careful about that middle wave. It's got a 29% chance to clear outright, but 13k can be rough if you end up with no Drake cards. All right, so for the skill order for this comp, you guys are going to start out with a front line of Nito, Drake, and Merlin. And remember, the reason we use Merlin and not Waver here first is because we're trying to build it into the comp for you to use a Skadi in place of the Waver should you need. But with that in mind, you can flip-flop. You could use Waver first instead of Merlin here if you felt like that would give you an edge and be able to kill. So just keep that in mind. We're going to go ahead and pop Merlin's charge skill. That's going to get Drake to full. That's going to give Nito some extra oomph. Yes, it is not as much as Waver's attack up skill, but it should help out. You'll go ahead and use Nito charge skill and use her first skill, her death skill. That should help her have a decent shot at killing those first enemies, and then you'll go ahead and NP and wipe out that front wave. From there, for turn 2, you guys are going to go ahead and pop Merlin's buster buff on Drake. Now you can plug suit here to give yourself some stars to help out, because you're not going to be using Drake's charge skill here since she's already at full. Or you can wait to do it in wave 3 if you feel like you need the stars there. It's up to you when you want to plug suit, but my advice would probably be to do it in wave 2 to give you some stars for this wave in case you have to card. Go ahead and do the plug suit, rotate Nito out, bring that Waver, that Skadi in, and go ahead and NP. Now from there, you should be good on wave 3 and use all the Waver skills or all the Skadi skills. Go ahead and use Drake's third skill, her charge skill, and go ahead and use her first skill, that Voyager, the storm skill, and go ahead and pop the plug suit attack buff and NP. She should be good. Waver should live a decent chunk of the time with some health remaining, the worst case being 15.5k, but you should have plenty of stars from Drake's charge skill being at 10. Okay, so for the next comp, and this is getting into one of what I think are the really good comps for this node. Achilles has damage bonus, so that is going to help him just absolutely clear through this. You guys can see the requirement for this comp is only NP1. The downside to this variant is we are going to be using a SuperScope. Don't worry about that. We have a non-SuperScope option coming up here, but this is still a very adaptable comp because it's capable of being used with any Mystic code that gives 10% charge. You can also use plug suit and add another charger in on the back line, but essentially how it's going to work is it's just going to be double Skadi Achilles with a SuperScope, and that right there is really strong. You guys can see the clear percentages are all 100%. You do not have to worry about anything. He is going to just come in and wreck this. So since not much explanation needs to be done, we're going to go ahead and hop right into the skill order here. Turn 1, you guys are going to start out with Skadi Achilles Skadi. Again, there's nothing to really worry about there. Go ahead and use both Skadi's quick ups on Achilles. From there, you want to use Achilles' first skill, his quick up. That's going to give him 3 turns of quick up, so it'll be useful for all 3 waves here that he's going to be NPing, and you guys can go ahead and NP. He is going to slaughter that first wave and overkill it to a great fashion. For wave 2, you're going to go ahead and use one of the Skadi charge ups and Achilles' third skill that should allow him to get back to 100% charge because he probably didn't get enough quite there on turn 1, and go ahead and NP again, and he's going to slaughter that. For turn 3, now you guys can use the second Skadi charge skill, use both defense downs, and then find 10% extra charge. You could have used Fragment of 2004 as your Mystic code and done that on turn 2. That would have gotten you enough refund here, or you could use the Babylonian Mystic code, the Tropical Summer Mystic code from Summer 3. Either of those will work. You could technically even get away with Mage's Association, which gives you 20%. So all of those are fine because the final numbers that we calculated on wave 3 did not include any damage bonus from any Mystic code. So you're good there. At that point, you can go ahead and NP with Achilles and wipe the wave clean as long as you get him back to that 100% charge. Okay, guys, now this is going to be an Achilles double Skadi waiver comp with MLB Imaginary Element. You guys can use a Kscope here. You can use whatever. We'd originally plotted this out at any 20% working, but unfortunately it looks like that won't be the case. Instead, we are going to have to require waiver here. So just understand the requirements of this comp are basically going to be 1, having your own Achilles, and 2, having your own Skadi and waiver, because you're gonna have to take that other Skadi as a support. However, you can get away with NP1 in this comp, and that's again just due to his damage bonus. So we're gonna be really good here against this. He's neutral traded against everything, and there really shouldn't be any problems with the health remaining. This is gonna be a very stable comp for a lot of you guys, very achievable as long as you have those supports. Now, when starting out, you guys are gonna start out with a front line of both Skadis and Achilles. You're going to immediately pop both the Skadis quick ups on Achilles. You're gonna pop Achilles 3 turns of quick up, and you're going to pop Achilles' charge and NP gain skill. That should bring him to 100%. At this point, go ahead and fire off the NP and you should be good. As you enter turn 2, you're going to want to make sure you use one of the Skadi defense downs and then use that same Skadi's charge skill. From there, plug suit her out for waiver and bring him in. You should only need 10% charge to get Achilles to max, so go ahead and pop waiver's attack up. From here, you should be safe to go ahead and NP again. Now, as we enter turn 3, you guys are going to want to use that last remaining Skadi charge skill, that last remaining defense down, and use waiver's first skill on Achilles. That should bring Achilles up to full charge yet again. Go ahead and pop that plug suit attack buff and fire off the NP and you're good. Okay, now we get into the next round of comps for this, and these are the Astolfo comps, guys. Astolfo is another bonus damage unit. He is very solid for this. So if you guys have a good Astolfo, congrats. He is going to absolutely wreck this, and as a 4-star unit, a lot of you guys should have a decent one. You are going to have the requirements of lowering his charge skill, but you aren't going to have the requirement of lowering his damage skill. So you guys should be able to get away with quite a bit. As you guys can see, even NP1 works for Astolfo, just like with Achilles. However, Astolfo is going to have a lot harder time refunding because of his one-hit NP. He's not really made to do it like Achilles is, so we're going to have to automate the process, having him either take out 2 waves on his own one with Nito Chris or having him handle all three, which is going to be a little bit dicey. As you guys can see, we can run double Skadi or Skadi and Waver. It does not matter, just make sure the skills are appropriately leveled. We're going to require an NP3 Nito Chris here. Again, we have the warning because there's going to be max health remaining on all of these enemies. Just remember, this is going to be reliant on death proc. Like I said before, try to target that middle enemy. That way, if you get an Astolfo card, it should easily kill that middle dopester. And then for the other two enemies here, a card from either of the Skadi should mop it up. Remember, as everyone comes in with all those dropsies, they should have a lot of stars, especially on turn one there. So you guys should be capable of pretty easily carding out most of these front waves as long as there's not too much health remaining. So for this, we're also going to be using aerial drive. It is not assumed to be a level 100. We just only assume a level 15. And the reason it's aerial drive as opposed to some other CE is just because this is something now, as of the rerun of Halloween here recently, that just about all of you guys should have. We're going to bank on that this is the most recent good 50% charge plus NP damage welfare CE that you guys have. Let's go ahead and start with the skill order here. So you're going to start out with a front wave of Nito Chris, Astolfo, and Skadi or Waver, whichever one you chose to pick. I'll say you probably should start with Waver if you're doing that. Go ahead at this point and use all of the Waver skills. That should give Nito Chris some additional attack power for that first wave, and that's the problem if you're going to be using double Skadi, is she's not going to get that. So be very, very careful because that comp will be really rough, and these numbers were calculated with Waver in the comp. Go ahead and use Nito Chris's first two skills. That's her 100% charge and her death proc. That should give you guys a decent chance of deathing the enemies and clearing through. Don't worry about that. As long as you guys are handling it appropriately, you should be fine, like we talked about earlier. You're going to end up in wave 2. You guys are going to want to plug suit the Nito Chris out for the other support caster. Should be Skadi here. She'll come in, bring stars with her. That should give Astolfo a fighting chance against the preaching dope here, where he has a 15% chance to kill outright anyways, but the worst case scenario is he leaves it with 16k. So you're going to really want an Astolfo card here at NP1. NP2 obviously resolves just about all of these issues, but again, we tried to calculate it with the base NP value for this. So go ahead and plug suit that Nito Chris for Skadi. Use the Skadi quick up on Astolfo and go ham. On turn 3, you guys are going to want to use Skadi's charge on Astolfo and defense down on the enemy. Go ahead and use Astolfo's attack up and his 50% charge, and then use the plug suit attack buff. Go ahead and MP, and he'll easily kill Waver 100% of the time. This is a relatively stable comp. Just be careful of those first two waves. If it turns into a 4-turn, not the end of the world, but you guys should be more than capable of handling this as long as you have a decent invested Astolfo. Okay, so for this next comp, this is a little bit more of a whaley comp. Obviously, it's still using an NP1 Astolfo, but the real problem now is we are using that level 100 MLB Kscope. This gives Astolfo a lot more oomph. He is going to clear 100% of the time and not have to worry about any cards whatsoever. And the requirement is going to be tough on the support casters, as we now need a lineup of double Skadi and Waver. So you have to have both your own Skadi and your own Waver all maxed out for this comp to work. However, the upside is Astolfo handles all 3 waves, and you don't have to worry about Nito Chris on the front wave or trying to get a rash up or anything else like that. So you guys are 100% good and automated if you do this comp. This is a comp that you guys may have seen in the past, like with the triple Artoria comp. This is triple Astolfo. Kind of how it's going to work is Astolfo is going to NP all 3 times. I've seen some people think that he can't refund or anything else to do it. You don't have to worry about that. Refund isn't even factoring into this calculation because he starts out at 100% NP. He NPs, gets charged 100% by the 2 support casters, and then NPs. And then on the back end, coming into wave 3, he's going to charge himself to full again with the 3rd support caster and his own 50% charge. So that's what we mean when we talk about this. You can force any 50% charger in the game to NP 3 times in a row, as long as you have a SuperScope and the appropriate support casters. That's the hard part, is it's a very high bar, but if you can do it, it's well worth it because there's no chance of failure with it. With all the assumptions out of the way, for the skill order, we're going to start out with a front line of double Skadi and Astolfo. This one's going to be really easy. You're just going to go ahead and pop both Skadi quick ups on Astolfo and NP, and he should easily kill all the dopesters with an overkill amount of almost 4 times their health value, so you really don't have to care about it. From there, on wave 2, you guys are going to go ahead and basically use a defense down on wave 2 and a charge skill from Skadi on Astolfo. From there, you're going to want to swap that Skadi that you've used all the skills on out for the waiver in the back line and go ahead and use all the waiver skills. All the waiver skills on Astolfo should get him to full. Go ahead and NP and kill everything, including that preaching dope, who should be very easy to kill as opposed to the Achilles comp. For wave 3 now, you're coming in with Astolfo with no charge again. Go ahead and use Astolfo's own charge skill. Go ahead and use the remaining Skadi charge skill and defense down. Go ahead and pop your plug suit attack buff and Astolfo's attack buff and NP, and he'll easily overkill waiver here as well. So again, it's a very automated, easy comp as long as you can fulfill the parameters that the comp needs. Now for our last Astolfo comp here, guys, I wanted to show this off because we were sure we were going to have some people ask. Just like in one of the other videos, we have a 6 CE comp. This is going to rely upon RNG cards to kill wave 1. Again, remember, Astolfo has damage bonus, so as long as you guys get the appropriate cards, you should be good here. The problem is this comp is very likely to turn into a 4 turn. If it does, don't fret. That is one of the downsides to being able to run 6 CE here. You guys are getting additional drops, but at the risk of potentially 4 turning. So as long as you're able to stomach that, this is going to be a good comp for you. The real problem is, as you guys can see, we are requiring 2 Astolfos, not back-to-back NPs from the same Astolfo. Your own Astolfo and your friend's Astolfo. And you have to have waiver and Skadi. So this is a really, really weird comp, but that's how we're able to make it through wave 1. Having 2 Astolfos on the front line is increasing your odds of getting Astolfo cards significantly. They both have damage bonus, so should really, really help you out. On both of these, we are requiring at least an NP2 Astolfo, but you might be able to make it through on wave 2 with an NP1. It's gonna have about 19k HP remaining maximum if you do that. We're still gonna advise NP2 to make this relatively automated since, well, you're already dealing with RNG cards on turn 1. You really don't want to have to suffer through it on wave 2 as well. That's kind of the reason why we suggested NP2, but you might be able to tough it out with NP1 as long as you were to get some cards on wave 2 to help you and didn't get the lowest of low rolls. This comp should be getting quite a bit of stars as well. It's something to pay attention to. So for the turn order, we're going to start out with Astolfo, waiver, Astolfo in our front line here. If you have good cards, go ahead and pop waiver's attack buff. If you don't, you might want to delay that skill. Basically, if you end up with like all of waiver's cards or 3 waiver cards plus or something like that, you really are probably going to want to hold off. Versus having 3 Astolfo cards or more, you should be able to kill. Remember, you are going to be coming in with triple drop CE. Having enough stars right here at the beginning is not too bad. So if you see the cards, go ahead and pop all of waiver skills on Astolfo number 1. Otherwise, like we said, delay the usage. From there, go ahead and card out. My advice is also probably to pop both Astolfo charge skills here on turn 1. That is going to get them each to 50% on their own, but then with the waiver buffs on the first Astolfo, that's going to get them to 100%. That's going to get your stars per turn rolling out here for help on the second and third turns, just in case you need it somehow. On wave 2 now, plug suit out your waiver for Skadi. Pull her in, go ahead and charge the second Astolfo to full. Go ahead from there and pop the first Astolfo's attack up and NP, and you should easily kill everything as long as you're using that NP2. For wave 3, now you've got that other Astolfo all the way charged anyways, so go ahead and pop Skadi's defense down and Skadi's quick up. Go ahead and use the second Astolfo's attack skill and the plug suit attack up, and you should be good. You can also substitute in a NP2 or higher Drake to replace the first Astolfo in this comp. That will get you some stars, and it will allow Drake to be usable if you can't find another Astolfo to help you out, or if you just want to be completely self-sufficient. Okay, so I bet you guys are wondering, where's my SurfMo comp? And here she is. The big problem we're going to have with using SurfMo on this one is this is going to require NP5 and an MOB aerial drive. It's only a level 15 one, so you guys could stretch this if you level up your aerial drive to max, but we wanted to give you guys the base assumptions here. So the requirements here are going to be Nero, Bride, Waiver, and Tamamo, but there is a variant that we're going to show off right after this where where it's cast Gil instead. They both function very similar. The only difference being that in wave 3 here against Waver, instead of 18.5k, you're gonna have even more health remaining that you're gonna have to deal with. So both do work, but this is gonna be a high requirement in terms of units to have overall. But if you have a very good SurfMo, if you have Nero Bride, Waver, and Tamamo, or cast Gil, then you guys should be pretty good here. This is a very nice stable comp with how the skill order works. So I'm gonna go ahead and walk you guys through the Tamamo one, and then we'll do the cast Gil one right after that. For this, guys, you want to go ahead and start out with a front line of Waver, SurfMo, and Nero Bride. I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys to pop both first 2 Nero Bride skills on SurfMo and go ahead and plug suit her out for Tamamo. As Tamamo comes in, go ahead and pop Tamamo's 3rd skill on SurfMo. Go ahead and pop all of Waver's 3 skills on SurfMo, and from here she should be at 100%. From there, go ahead and use SurfMo's first skill, her arts up, for 3 turns, and NP. She should easily kill the remaining enemies and go on right there to wave 2, where she should have refunded 100%. On wave 2, there's nothing to it. You guys are just going to go ahead and NP. Literally, that's all you have to do. This is a very easy comp because everything is activated turn 1. You'll wipe out wave 2. As we come into wave 3, all you're going to do is use the plug suit attack buff, and this is why SurfMo's 3rd skill is just not required to be at a high level for this, because her refund is so strong here, especially against casters. It's her wheelhouse basically. So she's going to go ahead and NP. Waver will die 45% of the time using the Tamamo comp, leaving at most 18.5k. Should easily be able to card that out. Worst case scenario, you turn it into a 4 turn, but again, it's a relatively stable, easy 4 turn. Most of the time you guys should be 3 turning this, and it should be very nice comp for you. So now for the cast Gil variant of this, I just wanted to show off the spreadsheet a little bit here at the beginning. Do note, again, compared to that 18.5k, now we're dealing with basically 24k and a 26% chance to kill. So you've got a lot less odds of one-shotting this. You can do things to bump this up, including leveling your aerial drive higher or taking cast Gil's last 2 skills to 10, but we wanted to calculate him at 9s here just because. For the skill order for this one, it's going to be the same as the Tamamo variant. We're going to start out with a front line of Waver and Nero Bride and SurfMo. Make sure you use Nero Bride's first 2 skills on SurfMo, then go ahead and plug suit her out to bring in cast Gil. Go ahead and use cast Gil's latter 2 skills, the attack up and the arts up. Go ahead and pop SurfMo's first skill, her 3 turn arts up, and go ahead and pop all 3 of Waver's skills on SurfMo. From there, NP. Now for turn 2, you guys are just going to go ahead and NP again. Remember, this is what makes this comp so easy, is everything is popped on turn 1, so you guys don't really have to worry about anything here on turn 2. You should easily kill everything, but she's kind of getting anti-traded by the preaching dope, the demon, in this wave, so same problem that Achilles kind of had. As we end up on wave 3 here, we are going to go ahead and plop the plug suit attack buff and NP. Remember, Waver's going to have a little bit of a health remaining problem here. Just be on the lookout for it and go ahead and try to card your way out, but the cast Gil variant of this is more likely to end up in a 4 turn. And that's going to be a wrap for this one, guys. We do still have the Dantes and Lancelot comps coming. Don't worry about that, they'll be in their own separate vid, but otherwise these should be all the comps that you guys need to clear this. As you guys can see, Astolfo and Achilles were great for it, and even SurfMo, if you have a really nice high NP level of her, can work out wonderfully. So as always, guys, feel free to check me out on Twitter. Feel free to join the Discord, where we got a great community. Just make sure you assign yourself a role in the channel at the very top of the Discord, otherwise it'll kick you. I'll put the links in the description below for all of that, and I'll see you guys for the next node.